Greetings for Indie Book Publishing, Balboa Press. This is J. Douglas Barker. The book is titled Navigating the Rapids and the Waves of Life. And joining me from South Africa is the author, Mavis Majura. Welcome so much. I appreciate your time and getting connected with you to talk about your book.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. I have been looking at some of the content of your book. It's a relatively short read, 150 pages. One of the things you talk about is flow and success. Emotions either get in the way or get you on the way. Those are important words of wisdom. How did you become so wise about navigating the waves of life?
The premise of this book, I'm a teacher, I'm a human behavior specialist, and I also train a lot on emotional intelligence. So the reason why I actually decided to write is because I teach because I love to learn. And I learn a lot in my work on teaching emotional intelligence about emotions. And I decided I needed to share this with more people so that other people could actually also benefit from the transformation of my life, things that were happening as a result of learning about emotions. So that's how I became, I actually wrote about this. That's why I wrote Navigating the Rapids and the Waves of Life.
Your writing of this book, did it come from personal experience, or is this just something you learned in the classroom?
It is personal experience. So if you go through my book, I think I do mention that my formal and informal education system did actually not educate me about emotions. The best I was ever taught as I was growing up is think with your head, not with your heart. And I never knew what that really meant. And if I asked people around me, what does that mean? All of us have got a confused idea of what that really means. And the other one I also was taught is don't be emotional about it. And from my own personal experience and work, I realized that we are all emotional. If you're not feeling, you're dead. So how can I not be emotional? So what we mean when we say don't be emotional about it? So we are describing people's behavior, what people do with what they're feeling as being emotional. And for me, that was quite exciting to actually discover and to get to learn more about emotions in my own personal work and experience.
How important is values that we personally have as our foundation? How important are those to the process?
So values are actually the triggers of your emotions. But the one thing that is interesting for me when it comes to values, we are not born with values. We learn values from our existing environment. We're conditioned from our parents, the formal and formal education system. So you kind of form values based on your socialization, which may be good, which may be bad, depending on what is going on around you. I was actually assessing one time, one of my key values is being self-independent. And when I looked at my value, I said, how did I come up to be having this particular value, self-independent? And I looked at my background. When I grew up, my parents, or should I say my father, was a bit abusive. So when I saw my mother being abused most of the time, one of the things I told myself is that I want to be independent. I want to be able to look after my own so that if ever I get into any relationship and it's not working for me, I need to be able to leave. Well, it's a good value. But when you look at how I relate years and years later and how it actually formed, you may actually go back, revisit and question it. So most often when people get too close to me, because I'm a very self-independent person, it triggers certain emotions of, fear, anxiety, because to me, I need to be independent. I need to make sure that everything is in order. I can take care of stuff on my own. So values are key, but they are triggers of emotions. But also we need to constantly go back and revisit the values, because sometimes the formation or the foundation of the value is probably a self-defense mechanism, and you really don't need to be defending yourself throughout your life. You need to be creating a life of flow and success.
What is the first step that you would advise someone that you're talking to, dealing with, or as they read your book? What is the first thing, besides reassessing your value system? Is there another foundation that you would advise them to seek out?
The one thing that I always advise people is be in touch with your story. So often we don't quite tell our stories. We visit in certain areas of our lives and we look at them. We, discuss it with people, or maybe we just visit on our own, think about certain things that happened in our lives, but we don't really look at our life story as a whole. So the one thing that I also advise people is look at your story. What are the emotional patterns that come out of your story as a person?
And how do you build trust with someone that perhaps has failed you in the past?
How do you build trust with someone that has failed you in the past? I think we need to get to a place where we understand where the person is coming from. So we build trust based on empathy. You understand that the person is doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have. That does not mean that you should expose yourself to them. You may trust them based on their story. This is the best they're doing based on where they're coming from. So you are not really engaging. You're not putting yourself out there to expose yourself again to them, but you're just understanding them. So you trust them based on who they are, not who you are.
And not who you think you are sometimes, or even who you think they
true.
are.
Yes, true. So not who you think you are. Correct.
Very important advice. You began writing this how long ago, and how long did it take to complete?
So this book has actually taken maybe a year and a half, and I wouldn't actually say it was a year and a half of writing. So if I look at the days that I wrote, it's probably not 3 weeks. But, it's your first book. Sometimes you just put it there and you get, stuck in terms of should I carry on or something, some more important things get in the way. So it's been one and a half years, but not of writing.
Not of writing. You have included
Yes.
many sketches and diagrams and other contributions to the book. Those must have been something that you have accumulated over a period of time as well.
True. So some of them also just come out of my own trying to understand the subject. So some of them are, yes, original, I've done them, but some of them I have also learned from people that have the wealth of experience in this particular subject.
And describing this to my listeners, would you call it a conversation with them, or would you call it a workbook? How would you describe it?
I think it is more a workbook because I try to make it more practical. I try to ask questions to get them doing something. So they don't really read through. They get through a chapter and they get to a point where they have to do questions or do an exercise just to take them through to understand what is going on within them, and also to understand more about emotions. So it's more a workbook than a conversation.
And how would you describe the perfect reader, or the individual that you feel is going to benefit most from reading your book?
I would think that everyone will benefit from this book. Maybe I would look at people from about 15 years going upwards, because from 15 years you at least kind of understand what is going on within you. You start understanding what emotions are, what feelings are. And the one thing that I always say to myself, had I known this, had I learned this at an earlier stage, it would have actually helped me. So I would recommend it even from people that's, teenagers, because this is where emotions become chaotic. And if we don't manage them well, we either become successful or we fail in certain things, or we do certain things that we will regret. So I would advise anyone from the age of 15 that want to understand themselves more, that wants to actually accelerate their success or, influence their life in a better way using their emotions.
You have addressed many topics that are part of the human nature and human makeup. One is sadness. I think there is not a human on the planet that doesn't have some area of their life that perhaps if they open the door a little bit, there's some sadness there. You say sadness is nurtured. It can intensify to grief, depression, or semi-permanent anger. You have seen that in your practice and in your dealing with people, haven't you?
True. I have experienced, or at least I have encountered a lot of people that are suffering from anger, and not anger that is from now, but anger that is from many, many years ago, of things that happened years and years ago. So when people don't let go of the emotion, when they don't release it, when we house it, when we make it bed and breakfast, it intensifies and it gets trapped in our body. And when it does get trapped in our body, then it affects everything that we do on a daily basis. So you are no longer actually thinking that I want to feel sad, but some people are always sad most of the time because of, having not let go of that particular emotion.
Mavis, do you feel like it's important to hang out with people who are positive all the time, always upbeat?
Not necessarily, because sometimes what I find with being positive, there are some people who are overly positive, but they're running away from what is going on inside of them.
Interesting.
So there is we need a lot of acute awareness for ourselves, and also to be able to pick up emotional signals from other people. Some people may be positive, but inside there's work to be done. Mm-hmm. So they're actually running away from what they're feeling inside.
So that's that's not intuitive to most people. They think, well, if I'm around people that are upbeat and positive and having a good time, then perhaps I can get over my depression or my sadness.
You will find that sometimes people will be positive, happy, party, have fun, but they're trying to run away from what they're feeling inside. So you may join them and start partying and do whatever it is that at the time you think makes you feel positive. But when you come back, when you're on your own, that sadness does not disappear because you're not really dealing with the issue. You're trying to suppress it. You're trying to run away from it. So I always say, yes, it's important for us to be positive, but you cannot be positive without actually addressing the negativity that is inside of you. So it's rather important to notice, identify, appreciate what you're feeling as a person and find ways of dealing with it, releasing it. And then you can transform the emotion instead of transforming the emotion by just running away from it. And that's what often happens.
That's good advice. In fact, as I'm reflecting on your conversation, I do recall from interviews that not only I have done, but other people with comedians in particular in the industry, in the entertainment industry. They seem to be very happy, but most of their humor comes from pain.
True.
How would you introduce your book to someone in a couple of sentences or paragraphs and get them interested in getting their own copy of Navigating the Rapids and Waves of Life?
So Navigating the Rapids and the Waves of Life, 10 Lessons for Managing Emotions for Success, is a book that will help you to manage your emotions and direct your emotions in the direction that you want to go. Remembering that emotions can actually get you on the way or they can get in the way. So when you use Navigating the Rapids as your handbook, as your guide, it will help you to transform your emotions so they get you on the way. You become creative, you can communicate with intention, and also you can create the life that you want to create as a person, having your emotions as the fuel or the energy that is driving you on a daily basis, and just constantly checking how you're feeling, transforming it, directing it.
Fabulous. Your book would be described basically as one that is full of emotions and deals with emotions and underscores the fact that emotions are powerful, and you've given some practical tips on how to navigate the rapids and the waves of life. Author Mavis Majura has joined me from South Africa. Mavis, where do we get copies of your book?
So the book is available on Amazon, so you can actually get it on Amazon. You can also get it from Baobab Press. You can also get it from Barnes & Noble. I also have a website called www.emotionsforsuccess.com. www.emotionsforsuccess.com. You can actually order the book on that website as well.
Thank you for sharing that information. And for my listeners, Mavis is spelled as it sounds, M-A-V-I-S, last name Majura, M-A-Z-H-U-R-A. So you can do a search online, find other writings of Mavis. Mavis, thank you for sharing your story and sharing the story of this book with us today.
Thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate you guys for having me.
My pleasure. For Indie Book Publishing, Balboa Press, this is Jay.